February 1944, Ukraine, -20 degrees. 60,000 German soldiers are trapped inside a frozen pocket near a town called Cherkassy. The Red Army has surrounded them on every side. Stalin has personally ordered their annihilation. There is no food, there is no fuel, there is no way out. And then one man steps forward. He wears round, wire-rimmed glasses. He is 50 years old. His name is Herbert Otto Gille, and he is about to do something that military historians still call impossible. He is going to lead a breakout, on foot, through the snow, through the Soviet lines, with nothing but rifles, willpower, and the men of the SS Division Viking behind him. By the time the sun rises, more than 40,000 Germans will be alive who should have been dead. This is the story of the most decorated officer in the entire Waffen-SS, a man who never lost a battle Hitler personally ordered him to fight, a man who walked into hell 3 times and walked out 3 times, and a man who, after the war, was never put on trial, never charged, never punished. He died selling books in a quiet German village. This is the story of Herbert Otto Gille. He was born on March 8, 1897, in a small German town called Gandersheim. His father owned a leather factory. His mother kept the house. The family was respectable, religious, conservative. There was nothing in young Herbert's childhood that suggested he would one day command tens of thousands of men in the deadliest war in human history. He was a quiet boy, polite, studious. He liked horses, he liked books. He wore glasses from the age of 12, and the other boys teased him for it. But Herbert Otto Gille had something none of them had. He had iron in his blood. At 13, he was sent to a Prussian cadet school. The discipline was brutal. Boys were beaten for the smallest infractions. They marched in the snow without coats. They were taught that pain was a teacher and weakness was a sin. Gille thrived. By 1914, when the First World War began, he was already a young officer in the Imperial German Army. He fought on the Western Front. He commanded artillery batteries at the Battle of the Somme. He was wounded. He was decorated. He was promoted. He came home from the Great War with an Iron Cross on his chest and a question in his head. How does a country like Germany lose a war it should have won? For the next 20 years, Herbert Otto Gille would search for the answer, and the answer he found would destroy him. The Germany Gille came home to in 1919 was not the Germany he had left. The Kaiser was gone. The army was disbanded. The economy was collapsing. Inflation was eating the country alive. A loaf of bread cost a wheelbarrow full of money. Veterans begged in the streets. Children starved. Gille did what many veterans did. He tried to forget. He took off the uniform. He went home to Gandersheim. He started a farm. He raised cattle. He married a quiet woman named Sophie. He had a daughter. For 10 years he tried to be a normal man. But the rage never left him. Every morning he read the newspapers. Every morning he saw a country he loved being torn apart by communists in the East and bankers in the West. Every morning he asked himself the same question: who did this to Germany? And then, in 1931, he heard a man speaking on the radio. The man had a strange voice, sharp, angry, hypnotic. He spoke about betrayal. He spoke about revenge. He spoke about a Germany that would rise again, stronger than before, and crush everyone who had humiliated her. The man's name was Adolf Hitler, and Herbert Otto Gille, the quiet farmer from Gandersheim, was listening. In 1931, Gille joined the Nazi Party. In 1934, he joined the SS. He was 37 years old. He was a husband. He was a father. He was a respectable German citizen, and he put on a black uniform with a death's head on the cap. He did not join because he was forced to. He did not join because he was poor. He joined because he believed. He believed Germany had been stabbed in the back. He believed Hitler was the savior his country needed. He believed it all. And the SS rewarded believers. Within 4 years, Gille rose from junior officer to colonel. He was given command of an artillery regiment in a new elite formation, the SS Verfügungstruppe, the unit that would later become the most feared military force on earth, the Waffen-SS. When the war began in September 1939, Gille was 42 years old. He should have been behind a desk. He should have been planning logistics from a safe office in Berlin. Instead, he was on the front line in Poland, commanding guns that flattened Warsaw. In 1940, he was in France. His artillery shattered French resistance at Sedan. The men under his command called him the Old Man because of his glasses and his calm voice. They followed him anywhere. In 1941, Hitler turned east. And Herbert Otto Gille was given a new command, a new division, a new mission, a division that would become a legend, a division that would also commit unspeakable crimes. It was called Wiking. Before we continue, there is something you need to understand. Everything Herbert Otto Gille did from this point on, every battle he won, every medal he received, every life he saved, happened under a flag that murdered 6 million people. He was not a man fighting for freedom. He was not a soldier defending his homeland. He was an instrument of one of the darkest regimes in human history. His brilliance does not erase his crimes. His courage does not redeem his cause. Remember that, because what comes next is going to test you. June 22, 1941, Operation Barbarossa. 3 million German soldiers invade the Soviet Union. The largest military operation in human history begins, and the SS division Viking is leading the charge in the south. Gille commands the artillery. His guns clear paths through Ukrainian villages. His shells reduce Soviet defensive lines to ash. The division advances faster than anyone thought possible. But behind the advance, something else is happening. SS units following the front line are rounding up civilians, men, women, children. They are being marched into forests. They are being shot by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. The Viking division participates in some of these killings. The historical record is clear. In July 1941, soldiers from the division murdered 600 innocent people in the city of Tarnopol in western Ukraine. They were not forced. They volunteered. Was Gille there? Did he know? Did he order it? He commanded the artillery, not the security units. But he was in the same division. He saw the same villages burn. He heard the same gunshots in the woods, and he never said a word against it. For the rest of his life, Gille would insist that the Waffen-SS was a purely military force, that it had nothing to do with the killings, that his men were soldiers like any other. It was a lie, and he knew it was a lie. But the war continued. The Viking division pushed deeper, into the Caucasus mountains, toward the oil fields of Maykop, toward Grozny, toward a victory Hitler believed would win the war. It never came. By February 1943, Stalingrad had fallen. The German Sixth Army was destroyed. The tide had turned, and the Viking division began the long, bloody retreat back west. In May 1943, Herbert Otto Gille was promoted to command the entire division. He was 46 years old. He was an SS Brigadeführer, and he was about to walk into the worst battle of his life. January 1944, Ukraine. The Red Army has launched a massive offensive. 2 German army corps, 60,000 men, including the Viking division, are surrounded near a small Ukrainian town called Korsun, close to the city of Cherkassy. Hitler refuses to authorize a retreat. He orders the trapped men to hold their ground. He promises relief. He promises a counterattack. He promises victory. There will be no relief. There will be no counterattack. There will be no victory. The pocket shrinks day by day. Temperatures drop to -20. The wounded freeze in field hospitals. Food runs out. Ammunition runs out. Men begin to eat their horses. And then, on February 16, 1944, Gille makes a decision. He will not wait for Hitler's permission. He will not wait for relief. He will lead his men out on foot, tonight, through the Soviet lines, or they will all die. He gathers the survivors. He tells them the truth. He says, "We are going to walk through hell. Some of us will not come out, but those who follow me have a chance." At 11 o'clock at night, in a blizzard, 60,000 men begin to move. They have to cross a frozen river. They have to break through 3 layers of Soviet defenses. They have to march 30 kilometers through enemy territory in the dark with no air support, no artillery support, and no hope. Gille walks at the front. He walks at the front because that is what his men expect. He walks at the front because he refuses to die in a bunker. He walks at the front with his pistol in his hand and his wire-rimmed glasses fogging up in the cold. Soviet machine guns open up. Soviet tanks roll forward. Soviet infantry charges into the German column. The slaughter is unimaginable. But the Germans keep walking. By dawn, when the sun rises over the frozen Ukrainian steppe, more than 40,000 Germans have made it out. 20,000 are dead behind them. The wounded who could not walk were left behind. They were either captured or killed. It was not a victory, it was a catastrophe. But it was also one of the most extraordinary acts of leadership in the entire Second World War. Hitler was ecstatic. He summoned Gille to his headquarters. He personally awarded him the Knight's Cross with oak leaves and swords. And then, a few weeks later, he awarded him the diamonds. Herbert Otto Gille became the only member of the Waffen-SS in history to receive all 4 levels of the Knight's Cross. He was now the most decorated officer in the entire SS, and the war was already lost. January 1945, Hungary. The Red Army has surrounded the city of Budapest. 70,000 German and Hungarian soldiers are trapped inside. The civilians are starving. The Soviets are advancing street by street. The city is dying. Hitler orders a relief operation. 3 attempts to break the siege, 3 operations, all led by one man, Herbert Otto Gille. By now, Gille commands the IV SS Panzer Corps. He has the elite Viking and Totenkopf divisions under his orders. He has hundreds of tanks. He has thousands of veteran SS soldiers. He has everything Hitler can still give him. It is not enough. Operation Konrad I begins on January 1, 1945. Gille's tanks crash into the Soviet lines west of Budapest. They advance 30 kilometers. They get within sight of the city. And then they are stopped. Operation Konrad II begins on January 9th. Gille tries a different route, through the mountains, through the snow. His men fight for every kilometer. They get closer. They can hear the guns of the besieged garrison. They can almost see the spires of Buda Castle. They are stopped again. Operation Konrad III begins on January 17th. This is the final attempt. Gille throws everything he has into the attack. His tanks burn. His men die. His soldiers fight with a desperation that even Soviet generals later wrote about with respect. It fails. On February 13, 1945, Budapest surrenders. The German garrison is annihilated. Thousands try to break out on foot. Almost none make it. The city is in ruins. The Hungarian capital, one of the most beautiful in Europe, is destroyed. Gille has failed. For the first time in his career, the man who never lost a battle has lost the most important one of all. He pulls his shattered corps back. He retreats through Hungary. He retreats through Austria. He keeps fighting because that is the only thing he knows how to do. But Herbert Otto Gille is no longer a legend. He is a tired 50-year-old man with foggy glasses, leading dying boys through a war that is already over. May 8, 1945. The war ends. Gille surrenders to American forces in Austria. He is 51 years old. He has fought in 2 world wars. He has commanded tens of thousands of men. He has buried more soldiers than most generals ever meet. He expects to be hanged. He is not hanged. The Americans interrogate him for 3 years. They examine his record. They look for evidence of war crimes. They find his name in documents about the Eastern Front. They find his name on orders involving Soviet prisoners. But they do not find enough to put him on trial. In May 1948, Herbert Otto Gille walks out of an American prison camp, a free man. He goes home to a Germany that no longer wants to remember him. He cannot get a pension. He cannot get a government job. He cannot wear his medals in public. So he opens a bookshop. In a small town in northern Germany called Stemweed, Gille spends the last 18 years of his life selling books, history books, war memoirs, novels. He helps customers find what they are looking for. He is polite. He is quiet. He is the man with the round, wire-rimmed glasses. The neighbors know who he was. Some respect him. Some despise him. Most simply leave him alone. He founds a veterans organization for former Viking soldiers. He edits a newsletter. He writes letters defending the honor of the Waffen-SS. He insists, until the day he dies, that his men were soldiers, that they were not criminals, that history has misunderstood them. It is a lie, but it is the only thing he has left to believe in. On December 26, 1966, Herbert Otto Gille suffered a heart attack. He died 3 days later in a hospital in Stemweed. He was 69 years old. His wife was at his bedside. His daughter was at his bedside. There was no military funeral. There were no flags. There was no honor guard. He was buried in a small cemetery next to his parents, under a stone that bears only his name and the dates of his life. There is no swastika. There is no death's head. There is no knight's cross with diamonds. There is just a name, Herbert Otto Gille, 1897 to 1966, the most decorated officer in the entire Waffen-SS, the man who walked out of Cherkassy, the man who failed at Budapest, the man who served one of the darkest regimes in human history with brilliance, courage, and absolute loyalty. He died in his bed. He was never punished. He was never tried. And history is still arguing about what he was. A brilliant soldier? A war criminal? A patriot? A monster? Maybe he was all of them. Maybe that is the lesson. That evil does not always wear horns. Sometimes it wears wire-rimmed glasses and reads books in a quiet German village. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. We bring you the stories history forgot. The generals, the soldiers, the criminals, and the ghosts of the Second World War. The next story is already waiting, and it is darker than this one.